Hi everyone. Today we're going to be talking about adding and subtracting positive and negative rational numbers using a number line. You should be familiar with the number line from 6th grade. Positive numbers are always to the right of 0, and negative numbers are always to the left of 0. Anytime you add or subtract negative numbers, you must resolve the conflict. So what do we mean by a conflict? If we look at this first box, we see that it says no conflict. If there is one sign, you keep the same. So if we look at negative 6 plus 4, if I circle both of them, I have a negative 6 and a positive 4. There's no conflict here. Each number has its own sign. If I look on the bottom, negative 6 and a negative 4. Again, there is no conflict because each number has its own sign. However, if I move to the next column, we see that this talks about a conflict. We spoke about resolving the conflict. So anytime there are two signs, you must change it to 1. So if we read negative 6 plus a negative 4, here's our conflict because we see two signs. A positive sign tells you to keep whatever sign comes after it. So in this case, we have a negative sign. So when we resolve the conflict, negative 6, keep the negative 4. So now we have negative 6 and negative 4. There is no longer a conflict. If we move to the bottom, again, we see another conflict. There are two signs next to each other. Anytime you see a minus sign, we want to take the opposite of whatever sign comes after it. So negative 6, take the opposite of negative 4, which is positive 4. Now again, each number has only one sign, negative 6 plus 4. So anytime you're resolving a conflict, you need to say, are there two signs next to each other? And if so, the conflict needs to be resolved. Can you rewrite the following expressions? So again, you're going to ask yourself, is there a conflict? Yes or no. In the first one, we see that there are two signs next to each other, so we must resolve the conflict. The plus sign tells us to keep the sign that comes after it. So if I'm rewriting this, negative 4, keep negative 3. Now there is no longer a conflict. In the second one, there are not two symbols next to each other. So I know that I do not have to resolve any conflict. Negative 7 minus 3. I can take the parentheses away and rewrite it like that. Again, 6 plus 9. There are not two symbols next to each other, so that can stay exactly the same. In the last one, I see two signs next to each other, so I must resolve the conflict. The minus sign tells me to take the opposite of the sign that comes after it. So I keep the 5. The opposite of negative 8 is positive 8. And now my conflict is resolved. Okay. Use a number line to solve the following expressions. So again, before you do anything, you must resolve the conflict. I see two signs next to each other here, so I need to fix this conflict. The plus sign tells me to keep the sign that comes after it. Negative 6, I'm keeping negative 2. Now in using the number line, after you resolve the conflict, the first number always tells you where to start. So I'm starting at negative 6, which means I'm going to put a dot on negative 6. The sign tells you which direction to go, and the number after it tells you how many spaces to move. Now going back to what we said earlier, subtracting on a number line or a negative symbol will always move to the left. So on the side, I'm going to put minus sign, and you're going left. So again, I started at -6. The sign tells me to move to the left, and I'm moving to the left 2 spaces. So my final answer would be -8. Looking at the next one, again, I see I have a conflict, so I must resolve the conflict before I do anything else. The minus sign tells me to take the opposite of the sign that comes after it. So -6, the opposite of -3 is +3. Again, I'm going to start on -7. The first number tells me where to start on the number line. A positive sign tells us to move to the right on a number line. The second number tells me how many spaces to move, so I'm going to move to the right 3 spaces. And my final answer is -4.